So, guys, there was a column on Market Watch that told the story of a couple that saved just over $500,000 for retirement. They told their advisor they wanted a conservative approach. Well, last year they lost $88,000. That's down about 16%. Their advisor is now telling them nearly the $5,000 they're withdrawing a month is too much. That's about 10% annually. This seems wrong on a lot of levels. What do you think? Is this enough reason to maybe fire the advisor?
Well, I would say, it's always easy to come in on Monday morning and talk about what, my Steelers should have done on Sunday
Sure.
Right.
and Monday morning quarterback. But I think looking in this situation, I think there's a couple things that kind of stand out to me on maybe ways to try to get it right. And I think, for those of you that are out there in kind of a similar situation, you just recently retired, you've already taken a lot of abuse. If you look at this investor, here's the challenge about 2022 is you had both the stock and the bond market go down, which historically doesn't happen. But, to me, when you have all of your money exposed to risk, that's the reality of what can happen. Now, in addition to that, last year you had inflation at record level highs. So not only did they lose that money in the stock market, you have the price of groceries and everything getting more and more expensive. Kind of a double whammy approach. To me, I think there could be also some other areas when you look at a $5,000 withdrawal rate. Somebody who saved $500,000 seems like a lot of money. We've had shows in the past that talk about how much is the right amount to have for retirement. And some say $1 million, some say $1.5 million. But even $500,000 is a lot. But when you're taking a $5,000 withdrawal rate and you look at what the percentage of that withdrawal is, you need to get double-digit returns just to keep up with that withdrawal rate. And so there could be some, failure from the beginning on, what was realistic. And then, also I think if we look at it, the term conservative can be somewhat of a challenge. So to me, I think it starts in the beginning. If I go back, what we do for clients is we put together this binder. And within this binder, what we're doing is we're walking through the discovery part. We're developing a summary of actions that talk about threats and opportunities. We're working to identify how to eliminate those and how to be able to capture opportunities. We're talking about breaking down each section and kind of working them through together to make sure that we're on the same page to get a lot of the similar outcomes. To me, I think it probably has to go back to the beginning and looking at what is the discovery process and what was the process that was used to kind of put things together to get them to where they're at today. And if they are going to change gears, how is it going to make sure that their retirement journey gets back to accomplishing, what they need to do before the whole retirement's blown up? What would you say, Chaz?
Yeah, I would agree. It all starts at the discovery phase, Nolan. And as you know, the independent income system, I think, is the perfect scenario, perfect solution actually for a person going into retirement, because essentially what we're doing is we're just using the bucketed approach versus having everything invested in the market, and now you're subject to all the ups and the downs. Like you said, it doesn't happen often, but when both stocks and bonds are down at the same time, a person very well could have been in a conservative investment strategy with 50 to 60% of their money in bonds. And this year, because of the aggressive federal monetary policy, the tightening of interest rates has caused the bond markets, the U.S. Treasuries, to go down 16 to 18%. So it's possible that going into it, the advisor, if not, again, going back to some of our other segments, not being in a position, not having any experience in a market like that where we have best case money, worst case money, and then just in case money, just in case it happens. So that's essentially what the independent income system is. We set monies aside based on the timing and the order of which you're going to spend them. And so that helps us to take out a lot of the volatility associated with the money that you're going to be spending sooner than later, because that's the money that's subject to the sequence of events, the risk that the bad timing is going to really throw off the longevity of the money. Because if the market is down 10, 15% and you're taking out another 10, well, now you're really down 20%.
Sure.
And so that's exactly what we can't have happen. Going into retirement, while you're saving for retirement, A lot of ups, a lot of downs. That roller coaster ride is fine because you're contributing during the low periods and then you're riding it back up. But when you get to retirement and we need to start learning how to spend these monies down efficiently, it's a totally different ball game, and we need to be able to take out those high highs and those low lows. The other tip that I would give to an investor in this case is it would be interesting to know whether their average, make sure that they understand what their average returns are and what their real rates of returns are. And we go through in our a lot of our educational seminars how to determine whether or not your return is an average or it's a real rate of return. And essentially, the real rate of return is what you're spending in retirement. It's when we take the sequence of returns and we add dollar amounts to them. And that's the amount of money that you spend in retirement, that you travel on, that you pay off the kids' their college education. The average rate of returns are the returns that you brag about at cocktail parties, and that's what we need to know the difference going into retirement.
And I would say, as we wrap up today's show, you're thinking about things, if you're wondering, is this the right approach? Number one, benchmark. Don't look at the market. What we want to do is help you set your own benchmark. A benchmark set specifically for you. Perspective. When are you going to need the money? Don't worry about, money that you need 5 or 10 years from now. Right now with the market, try to look at, panic as an opportunity. Volatility creates opportunity. Risk tolerances. Somebody's been talking to you in generic terms like the word conservative. Just realize their definition of conservative may be very different than yours. Mm-hmm. What we can do is when we do a stress test on your portfolio is we can give you the mathematical numbers that show you what some of the outcomes are of your portfolio and work towards making sure that we've got the deck of cards stacked in your favor. If you're again worried about what's happening in the market, you kind of want a second opinion and want to know, what is the next step that I should take with your money? That's exactly what we're here to help with.
And to get started, it all starts with that phone call, 419-794-3030. It's a huge mental shift going from the working world into the world of retirement, no longer having to get up at when the alarm goes off at 6 or 7 in the morning or perhaps earlier and go into work, having to now rely on that money to get you through retirement as opposed to just accumulating, and also knowing that you can have different levels of risk tolerance in retirement, money you're not going to touch for 15 years, 20 years, where you can maybe think of that like a younger-minded investor. If you need help making that shift, putting that plan together, the team at America's Retirement Headquarters, they're here for you. 419-794-3030. Don't forget a lot of great events coming up with the team at America's Retirement Headquarters. You can go to arhq.com, click on the events tab to find out more information, including how to reserve your seat. Again, that's at arhq.com. I want to thank you so much for joining us this week, spending part of your day with us here on America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys formula and America's Medicare Associates. Nolan, Chaz, Scott, as always, we appreciate the time. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with the final word.
Great quote for the week. It's, you have to put off being young until you retire. Have a great week, folks. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, when you think retirement, think America's Retirement Headquarters.